Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 227. Wait Your Churn, recorded on Friday, December 2nd, 2022 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
Alrighty. I guess we don't get any little split screen for banter. I wanted to banter a little bit.
Right into it. Freddie's
It's
all
right.
business.
Oh, right on into the show, dude. It is. Oh, Freddie.
I got you. I got you.
You got us covered. Oh, December is here.
It is that month. Early snow here in Colorado. It is cold and windy and snowy.
It is overcast with a slight drizzle and 60 here in Southern California. It's not
frigid
not
winter.
Frigid cold. Anyway, I don't know where the year's gone, but we do have a lot of good stuff coming up. So why don't we talk about our upcoming events? We can discuss some of that. We're going to do the graphic again?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Everybody gets the double announcement events. We are prepping feverishly for the Zen Show, which is going to be live on Wednesday, December 28th. If you're unfamiliar, this is where we do a full year in review. We go through everything that happened in the world of Zoho in this wonderful fading year, 2022, where I think COVID may finally be over, even in China. Closely seems like that. And then we're going to do our Zen Me's, which is you, our audience, our newsletter subscribers, vote on your favorite Zoho apps in a variety of categories. And we're going to kind of mixing it up, changing up a bit this year, but that will be a lot of fun. And as always, we keep track of all of the events going on in the world of Zoho over at zenatta.com/events. And you can or just go to Zenatta and click on the events tab, and you will see everything that's going on. Zoho People. Next week, they're doing a user meetup. If you happen to be in India, head on over to one of those meetups. They've got them going on in 3 different cities over 3 different days. Zoho's also got their advanced and new email functionalities in Zoho CRM. That's going to be a focus group webinar, so you can join that from anywhere in the world. That's going to be at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. And then there it is, December 28th, the 3rd annual Zen Me Awards. I'm excited about that, Tyler. It's going to be big.
Absolutely. So go
It'll
over
be our
there
last
and vote. If you are listening now, this is your sign to go and vote for the Zen Me's. Let us know what you think.
Vote. It's going to be good. We do that show, and then I think I board a plane for Florida to spend time with my wife's family for a little bit. And then I'm going to get on a little cruise ship, or a big cruise ship. They don't make little ones these days. And then you can move into February, but head on over to, it's good. We got a whole bunch of February stuff coming up. Look at this. Customer experience workshops going on. Wow. Very, very cool. All right. So that is all over at zenatta.com/events. And with that, Tyler, let's go right on into the news. All right. Zoho Notebook has some updates. If you are unfamiliar with Zoho Notebook, this is Zoho's note-taking app, very similar to Evernote or OneNote or any of those note-taking apps. It's actually a very good, very, very good note-taking app. And it's been around for 6 years, and they're making some changes to it. So they're, extending the storage. You now got 100 gigabytes of storage, so you never have to worry about running out of space unless you're uploading a bunch of 4K content. Then you'll be out in just a few videos. And you can now turn emails and tickets into notes. So if you're using Desk, you can turn them automatically into notes. Really, really cool. I like that a lot. And you can collaborate effectively in notebooks. You've always been able to do this, but they've kind of changed the collaboration.
Kinda. Yeah. Collaboration has always been a little bit funky inside of notebooks. So seeing that they're making some updates there that you can share an entire notebook. I know that was kind of a big one that long time ago when Wayne, our director of marketing, and I wanted to have a quick brainstorming, we had found that there was no way for us both to really share a note and work on it together. So we ended up in Writer. So nice to see them kind of working on the collaboration piece, because that's always been a little lacking.
Yeah. And you now have the ability to set up recurring reminders, and they've given with the additional space, you can do more recording of lectures or recording of anything. They're using students as an example here. You can back up and publish your notes. So you can back up your notes to Google Drive or iCloud and restore them at any time. That is super cool if you're wanting to do that. You
Probably
can
add Work
search.
Drive to that list at some point, I hope.
It's kind of strange that Work Drive's not on here. Huh.
Maybe it's already there and
Good
we just don't
pull.
know.
Maybe it was there, and now they've just added other
Yeah.
ones in. But it should say, and of course, you can always do it with Work Drive. You can search tagged and connect with us. Not sure what this is. You can search and tag, and I don't know what the connect with us part is.
I think they've just added a feedback widget.
Yep.
Never heard.
And you can upgrade Zoho Notebook for free to Notebook for Business Plan for your team's productivity. So they kind of redid the pricing on this and redid some stuff. And most people we know that using this is part of Zoho One, so they use it as part of that. But you've got a whole different bunch of pricing here. That's it. It seems like there's one thing missing, Tyler. Not sure what it.
Just that one little thing.
This guy Brett Martin asked a question this morning. He said, "When will we be able to add or associate a note to a Zoho CRM record?" Huh?
Good question from that unknown user, Brett Martin.
That guy's, he makes a good point, because it's one of those things you can't do with Zoho Notebook, which is associate
one of the last remaining apps it's not integrated with, actually. Is CRM.
Yeah, CRM. And when you're taking notes and you're using Zoho CRM, you might want to do that. Well, I'm glad he brought this up. I hadn't thought of that before. So it's pretty good thing there. For those of you who are just listening to the show for the first time, one of my pet peeves over the last 6 years has been the inability to create a note in Zoho Notebook and attach it to a record in the CRM, which is something you might want to do when you're talking to a client. Because one of the things Zoho CRM, one of the most amazing tools, it doesn't have any rich text formatting ability when you're taking notes in the CRM. You could also just do that, which is add rich text formatting to the CRM. Either one would work, but I think the ability to attach maybe an entire notebook into the CRM would be really cool, right? So you could have a specific notebooks for clients. Anyway, a lot of opportunities there, but the notebook team is chugging along. And you told me that you saw something somewhere where they're promising
rumors that it might be on the roadmap.
There are rumors that it might be.
Yeah,
rumors.
I'm adding two. Yeah, I'm adding two qualifiers on that. It is both a rumor that it might be. So we are double uncertain, but please no cease and desist.
All right, and then moving on, in Zoho Show, you can now deliver presentations on the go with SharePlay. This is kind of cool. I didn't even realize that it exists. So SharePlay is a feature on iOS that allows you to share audio and video content from multiple applications in a FaceTime call. So do you know about that?
Yeah, they added it not too long ago, though. It hasn't been around forever.
Huh. So if you're doing a lot of FaceTime calls and you're doing that for business, which is kind of interesting because you can have a lot of people on a FaceTime call and it handles it exceptionally well, but they never really push FaceTime as a collaborative kind of tool. Right. But there is a desktop application as well for FaceTime. And I imagine this works for that as well. So anyway, now if you're using Zoho Show, which is their presentation software, then you can push that directly into a FaceTime call. Pretty cool.
Very nice.
Nice features. You can draw. I like it. So good stuff. And then moving right along with the news. So this is interesting. Tyler and I were talking about this before the show. Inside of CRM, you can now measure customer churn prediction rates with Zia. So Tyler, I always thought of churn as, it's a subscription. You've got someone who's using your software and, what's your new business to the people that drop off? What's that look like year over year over year? And
Yeah.
people who have subscription plans, they're always measuring churn. You hear that all the time when you're talking about Netflix. What's their churn rate? What that kind of thing. So what are they talking about here? It's kind of like what customer churn as what they're going after here.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a little interesting. They implemented this for CRM rather than subscriptions. I mean, you could think about churn in a lot of different ways. If you have like an ongoing retainer, maybe it's not a fixed subscription, but maybe they can look at, each time this record is created, that represents a repeat purchase, and look at indicators that precede a certain account not making any new purchases. I mean, generally speaking, churn is mostly applied for like a auto billing subscription basis, but I guess they're going to try to look at it in different ways. Like maybe if you have e-commerce and people are buying semi regularly, you could figure out if someone looks like they're about to stop buying. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how it ends up working. Like how do I tell this model what classifies as a churn,
Right.
and what doesn't. So that'll kind of be the interesting part. But what would be even better is if they took this type of tool and included some subscriptions data and looked at it there.
Well, it looks like
I
they're
get that.
doing that. It looks like they have this. I wonder if they're tying into Zoho subscriptions.
I didn't see it in
It's
here.
well, they're
Yeah, I
talking
didn't
about
see it in.
churn prediction for subscription-based customer record and a non. By the way, it's a pretty high score. If they got an 82% probability of churn, you better fix your product there. And a non-subscription based customer should have a 0% churn rate because they're not on a subscription. I don't understand. Anyway, we're going to have to play with it, see what it does. But you've got this ability to, it looks like you're setting your own probabilities, huh?
Yeah, so it's like if you lose a deal or something like that. Be
Yeah.
interesting to take a look at. But really the big one here is hopefully they implement this type of tracking as well on the native subscription side of the house, because that's really where I think a lot of people would want to use something like this.
Yeah. So you put your models, he is going to tell you what your accuracy of your model looks like it's going to be, and then away you go. Nice. Nice. All right, moving right along with the news. Let me break out my Atari 2600 and let's go through the Zoho CRM 2022 Autumn Update. If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll get that reference. They've got a very Austin Powers-ish 1970s font up here for the 2022 update. So I was going to leave this out because we've covered a lot of this, but there are some interesting things in here that maybe we didn't cover. So on the omnichannel communication, the call bar enhancements, you can view calls in conversation and view calls in queue. Did we talk about that? Maybe we
I think
did.
so. This is part of what they're building with the built-in CRM telephony, which is not Zoho Voice, but is built
Right.
on Twilio, but you don't sign up for Twilio. So they've added kind of this like call queue, this like sidebar type of interface. I think we've talked about maybe a couple times
Yeah.
throughout the course of this year. It does look nice. I mean, it's one of
Yeah.
those things. It's another telephony option. Like we need one of those. But it does have some nice UI things that they're doing. Looks like
Yeah.
we also got WhatsApp business integration for CRM. That's one of those ones that we never use, but a lot of people do. So it is nice to be able to just directly tie that in, especially outside the US. I think it's even more of a need and use case for WhatsApp.
Pretty slick integration too. I mean, this is kind of
Mm-hmm.
a dream for a lot of people to have this with just US based telephony and US based text, right? It's so difficult to do. But when you have everything sitting in one third party app, it makes it a heck of a lot easier. So if you're watching us on YouTube, it's just a beautiful little chat screen they've embedded. So, it'd just be like what you're looking at on your phone. Responsive email templates. I don't think we covered that, but that is super nice because sometimes their email templates have not been very responsive to mobile, desktop, that kind of thing. So nice change there. And you've now you can configure your price quote. It goes into pilot access.
Yeah, this is
So,
their new CPQ. It's,
yep.
a lot of the times we find ourselves writing a lot of custom code for people to do quoting that isn't quite standard. If you have unique cost structures, unique pricing. And so this is Zoho trying to build out some ability to do that, as well as pull in some suggestive selling, which is something that we've never really been able to solve for with code. Hey, you're selling a Sony TV. here's a sound bar that we sell a lot of with that TV, right? Those like cross-sell opportunities. So it's pretty cool. It's actually not something we've dug into a ton quite yet. It is still in that kind of pilot early access, but it is something that I think a lot of people would love to have once it's really full featured and fleshed out.
I think it's pretty slick. I think the ability to add those kind of suggestions in for sales guys is going to be, very, very nice.
And the
Anyway,
pricing and margin math and things like that too are a big deal.
yeah. And now you've got custom module support for scoring rules. That's a big one. So if you built out a custom module and add some scoring rules, you can do such now. We've always liked this sort order preference for pick list field values. What did they change here? I know you've always been able to manually adjust them, make them alphabetical. Do you know what they did here? Oh, entered order, alphabetical order. What did they change? What did they add?
Well, it's essentially pushing it through to other things. So like, let's say I sort my pick list in a certain order, but then when I pull a report on it, it defaults to alphabetical. So you can essentially say like, I put them in this order on purpose, show them in this order on any like usage of this pick list.
Beautiful. That's kind of
Which
nice,
is
huh?
very nice. Very nice quality of life thing. For like deal stages, for example, that's like a common one that people get annoyed with because they always like to sort alphabetically.
And you were pretty thrilled about this one when it came out, parallel transition support for blueprints.
I didn't know
So,
this came out. I know they've done
yeah.
this for so many different apps. I didn't even know this was deployed for CRM yet.
Oh, maybe it was another app you were excited about this coming out in
Yeah,
then.
they did it in
Well,
Creator and Desk a little while back. I
all
honestly,
right.
maybe we missed this one. I had no idea. It's actually a really nice update for
Yeah, well,
CRM.
there it is. You want to explain parallel transitions a little bit?
Well, essentially, a blueprint, you're moving through, let's say, a variety of different deal stages. And it's a way to add some structure and consistency to that. And the challenge with it was always that you couldn't have two different ways to get from point A to point B, right? So a common example is like, maybe step one is discovery call, step two is engineering call, and step three is send proposal. Well, what if 50% of deals don't need an engineering call? Well, you couldn't have like two different parallel ways to get to one endpoint, right? And so there's a lot of use cases where you might need different required fields or different tasks based on the type of path you're taking. So it's a really nice update there for managing your blueprints. I'm surprised that we didn't catch that one when it came out. Must have been one of those sneaky updates.
It could be one where it's just one of those.
This must not be out yet because this. Oh no, this one came out. This is filter support for lookup fields. So this is not hard coding the filter to the lookup.
Right,
It is allowing you to use a filter when you are selecting the lookup. So kind of
right.
one step off of I think where people are really hoping that
Hoping
goes.
to go. Yeah. And criteria support for better segmentation. Dun, dun, dun.
And they
Oh,
added
by
not
the
too
way,
long ago their RFM,
yeah.
recency, frequency, and
Right,
forget
right,
the
right,
M.
right, right. And Zoho Finance support for the same thing. Mail merge functionalities are available for Apple and Android tablet users. Reasons for loss field. We covered this one. This is kind of nice. You can make it a pick list now. It used to be just something you typed in. So that's good. So anyway, this is a
Yep.
rather long kind of update of everything that happened in CRM last quarter. Worth the read. I will say that if you subscribe to our newsletter, you may notice that there are a lot of stories in the newsletter that we don't cover on the show. We kind of have to make some hard decisions, and a lot of them are kind of these little ones like, oh, iOS now supports, this or that, or
Yeah.
Android supports this or that, because we just don't have enough time to try to keep the show under an hour running time, especially when I go completely unhinged sometimes, Tyler. So this is a good update. I did think we got most of that, but I do think a
Yeah.
couple were snuck in there. So who
I think
knows?
the big shout out for the CRM team on this update is like, they've been adding a lot of these shiny features, voice or, voice of customer, Pathfinder, things like that. A lot of the things I see on this list are like core standard, kind of like basic, maybe less sexy features, but that are insanely useful, right?
Yes.
Parallel transitions, criteria for data sharing, like those are huge. You can't make a big marketing post about it, but they are super useful. So big
Yep.
shout out to the CRM team for that and knocking out some of those odds and ends, right? That I think are really going to help people out.
All righty, and then moving on, you now have multi-org for Zoho Recruit. So if you are a Zoho Books user, Finance Suite user, you'll be familiar with this. But basically, you can now support multiple different instances of Zoho Recruit from a single dashboard, have the different organizations, and go ahead and go into those various separate organizations that you have. Like I say, you've been able to do this in books for a long time, a couple other apps. Super useful, I would imagine, for agencies who are doing this kind of thing, who want to run separate ones. So pretty big update for Zoho Recruit users. So kudos to the Recruit team as well. And then wrapping up the news, you now have advanced multi-currency handling inside of Zoho Books. So this feature is available under the Elite and Ultimate plans of Zoho Books. I don't know is
not Zoho One. Zoho One would not be included with that.
So Zoho One is not going to do that. So this is kind of weird because this is something I wonder if are they allowing you to do one-off upgrades of books inside Zoho One and say, hey,
it's
I want
very
the
unclear. It's very unclear if you can get the Elite or Ultimate, but they're also very expensive. I think a lot of people would not make that upgrade.
Got it.
And the majority of the difference in Elite and Ultimate is row counts, analytics, and inventory. So with Zoho Analytics or Zoho One, you kind of already have most of it.
Got it. So exchange rate's going to be applied automatically, statement summary, reports visibility. The one thing that I don't know how they can solve for, and it doesn't even see like they are here, is that, I will send an invoice out to somebody in US dollars, but it's a euro-based invoice, so it converts it over to euros, or I'm billing them in euros. But of course, when it comes back into the bank, it's hitting in US currency, and the matchup between those invoices is virtually impossible to do. So I still don't see how they could solve for that with this, because even if you're doing real-time currency conversion, that doesn't even mean you're going to match up with whatever your bank's currency conversion rate is or any other currency conversion rate is. But kind of nice if you're an international business. I wish we could get some clarification, though, around Elite and Ultimate plans inside Zoho One. There's some other things around that. So, all righty. And with that, Tyler, let's get to the implementation of the week.
Alrighty, so this is a build that we did here, kind of led by Bruno on our team, one of our developers. So this is a build integrating Zoho Desk with Slack to do some automated notifications. Now, we use Click internally. Click is kind of Zoho's version of Slack, very, very similar. But for some users, maybe they've been on Slack for a long time, or they have some pre-built integrations for other tools they're using that are already in Slack, so they don't want to leave. But you still want to be able to access auto notifications and reminders the same way that we'll often set up for people that are using Zoho Click. So this was kind of like our V1, like first step for this integration for this client. And the goal sounds pretty simple. Basically, when a comment is left in Zoho Desk that mentions a specific user, we want to be able to notify that user in Slack with a link to the ticket so they can get over there quickly and take the action that they need. We did this in kind of a multi-step process. So the first step is Bruno went ahead and set up a Zoho flow that runs whenever ticket comments are left on a ticket. It uses some logic to kind of read through the comment and identify if a user was mentioned in it, because there are cases where someone leaves a comment but doesn't tag anybody, right? Maybe they left it for themselves or just so that we have some history on this, but nobody was particularly mentioned. If there is a mention in that ticket, or maybe more than one mention, we actually log it into a custom table inside of Zoho Analytics. That step is basically the one that allows us to parse out the multiple mentions so that more than one person gets a notification per that individual comment that was left. And then every 30 minutes, we run a scheduled function that will basically check against the analytics table. It'll look at any of those user mentions that have not yet been sent through Slack, and it will go ahead and send them to those users in Slack via their API. So again, a lot of this stuff could also be done with Zoho Click, but not everybody wants to switch over. Sometimes people have good reasons for staying in their other chat tools. And so in this case, we kind of just connected the dots for them so that you can still get that instant rapid notification despite that user maybe not being in desk at the time. So it should hopefully be a pretty good time saver for them at the end of the day.
Yeah, very, very, very nice. I still don't understand why people stay in Slack, but it doesn't. I
It's
mean,
like other integrations, Slack has a lot of pre-built stuff outside of
it does.
Zoho. So if you're not using every Zoho app, and maybe you just got a lot of stuff already plugged in, you want to stay. I mean, for us, most of the time, it makes most sense for people to move over just because they are so similar at the end of the day. But it's got an API, so if you want to stick with it, we can surely send it some data.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to pay us, we can probably duplicate any integrations that are missing, when you do click. So another
Yeah,
reason to move.
just a
Yeah, yeah.
payback period.
So
Yep.
there's always that. All right. And with that, good job, Bruno. Let's move on to our code share. So over at Club Zenatta, our developers are always busy posting code shares. And we've got not one, but two for you this week. And this first one is from Alexander McCaughton. And he has done an amazingly detailed code share, probably one of the most detailed ones we've had. And this is a merge and sign API for Zoho Writer and Zoho Sign. And he gives you a step-by-step. So what this is you're in CRM or you're in Writer, mostly CRM, and you're going from there. You're creating a writer document, you're sending a design, you're sending it out. This is to kind of automate that entire process across the across the everything, so that basically click a button and it is all done. We do this a lot for a lot
Constantly.
of
Constantly.
constantly,
And we
right?
plug in this flow to a variety of different things. Sometimes it's a button press, sometimes it's a status update, sometimes it's 7 days after a date, right? Like
Right.
what Alex has shared is like a beautiful template for how we make tons and tons of documents that end up going out for signature. Well worth taking a look at. If you're working on this, is going to fast track you through like many, many, many hours of banging your head on the keyboard. I mean, even laying out how different types of data need to be stored, and you've got a whole roadmap here on how to get this done. So definitely take a look. Again, this is something we do constantly. This
Yeah.
and things like it. So
And this is something
well
we
worth
swore we would never share with the general public, and yet here it is. So if you want to do it yourself, here's your step-by-step guide. And again, he's just done a wonderful job of everything you would need to do to make this entire thing work. So good stuff there. Extremely useful. I mean, not only we do it for a bunch of people, we do it for ourselves as
Oh
well.
yeah,
We leave out the sign part, because in most cases, but we'll from a deal automatically generate an entire proposal. And if you think about it, there are 60 Zoho apps, so you don't want to have 60 things and have to delete them. So it's just pulling in the sections we're going to do, pulling in our
yep,
notes, pulling in the account information, the content. It's an amazing little process. It saves a ton of time. And people are always, oftentimes I think our consultants, they have to coach some of our clients because they want to automate things that don't necessarily make sense to automate, because you really won't get your money back on it in a long time. But this is one of those things that almost universally is so worth the squeeze, because you
yeah,
save just hours and hours and hours. I mean, these kind of things usually can pay for themselves just in days or weeks,
yeah.
because of the amount of time that's saved. So nice job there, Alex, in getting that out. And then we have another code share. It's a bonus code share. Greg is giving you the button code to email a CRM inventory template. So this wasn't what I thought it was, Tyler. You said this is kind of a little twist on like saving you a little extra step.
Yes, I mean, essentially, this is we do a lot of work in the CRM native modules where maybe there's some type of button that runs custom pricing or calculates margin or does some stuff right automatically to that quote before we send it out. And one of the common challenges is they press the magic, let's say calculate totals button that spins, it refreshes, and then they go and manually go through the process to send it out, right? If you want to add any, let's say like custom language to the email template or something in that regard. So kind of what Greg and the team did is they worked backwards. They basically looked at what URL it ends up landing on when you go to send it. And they added that as a kind of like open URL when you press the button. So essentially, this is a way to just end around the process of running a function on a quote and then sending it. This is like you're going to run a function on the quote, then it's going to update and open a page for you where you can very quickly send it out. make any final tweaks, of course, as you need to. So really nice one. Again, this is kind of something you might drop in for a variety of different reasons based on your workflow. But now, our listeners and viewers here have it as a quick thing to grab.
Yep. And this all exists over on Club Zenatta. So if you go to club.zenatta.com, you can participate in our community. We have a general discussion group. We've got a Q&A for CRM Zen. You can post questions here, and Tyler and I will answer them on this show, on the CRM Zen Show. Also, by the way, if you're watching us live on YouTube, get your questions ready and start populating those into chat, and Freddie will go ahead and pull those questions in for us to answer on the show live.
Due to a little bit of spam we got a week or two back, the chat is in subscribers only mode. So if you do want to leave your questions, we will have to subscribe. But on the bright side, that'll increase the likelihood that you see more of our useful videos. So
that's it. So anyway, big community, CRM Zen Show, our blog, everything is there. You can request a video tutorial. That's there. So go to Club Zen and join our community. And with that, Tyler, let us get on to the read of the week. And this comes from Destination CRM. They are the editors of CRM Magazine. We haven't hit them up in a while, but this is 3 best practices for turning customer data into marketing insights. Kind of a nice one here. I put this one up because oftentimes when we are working with a client, it's just so important for them to really set up their CRM properly, their accounts and their contacts, so that they're collecting the data that they need to collect so that they can properly market to them. And with all of the changes that were made in Zoho Campaigns and its integration with Zoho CRM, that ability to segment your users and your data is just more important than it ever was. And so this is just a nice article that steps you through what you need to be thinking about as you're doing that. And just a short little article, quick read, but I think it is worth the time for you to take a look at this.
Yeah. I think the big thing too in this, and they kind of talk about a bit, is really figuring out what data matters to you for the marketing that you are doing, right? And so like a common example is like for some people that are selling certain products, age might matter. For other people, maybe it doesn't, right? So make those decisions about what's relevant for your customers and the types of content, services, and products that you want to market, and make sure that you're collecting that data. Because the more you try to collect, the harder it is, right? So be intentional and specific about the data that you're looking to capture, and make sure that it's the most useful data that you can get into your system.
Yep. And again, automate that too. I mean, oftentimes it's just something about what products your customers have purchased, and they're not tracked sometimes, and they need to be tracked. And you need to keep track of what products they purchase, because maybe you have an add-on for that product that you want to sell, or maybe if they bought this product, they might be interested in that product. So it's there's so much to think about when doing this. But a nice little article, quick read, and it could kind of set you up on a nice little foundation there. So that's Diane King. And she's the co-founder and CEO of Brenify. So nice little article there. And a little shout out to Destination CRM. Really nice website if you're using a CRM. It's kind of a daily read for me. Go in there and see what people are doing. So good job. All right. And with that, let's see what's new over on Zenatta.com. All right, password management, a must-have application. So if you should be familiar with password management. This tracks and securely stores all of your passwords, and this is why you need to have it, and some best practices when doing password management. And then, of course, we talk about the some options you have out there in the world of password management. Zoho Vault is a best-in-class password management tool. It is amazing. It works with everything. It's got a great Chrome extension. It's got a brand new spiffy year-old interface that makes it right up there with the rest of them. So if you're a Zoho user, which you probably are if you're listening to this show, you just can stop right here, go with Zoho Vault. You'll be perfectly fine. Some other great ones out there are 1Password, LastPass, Google Password Manager. If you're using Chrome, it can manage your passwords fairly effectively as well. A little difficult. It's not as managing, kind of cleaning them up on the back end is a little more difficult in Google Password Manager. That interface hasn't changed since they released it, but that's a free one that just you can use right out of the gate. So good job, team, in putting this article together. And as always, you can head over to Zenatta.com and you look at all of our services. You can look at our resource library. That's where we talk about every single app. Under resources, by the way, we've added code share so you can get directly into CRM Zen and go into the code share library. We felt that was valuable there. It was funny. I was showing this to someone the other day and I forgot all about our pricing calculator we built in here. So if you're thinking about switching to Zoho One, this is a really nifty calculator where you can basically put in how many users you have and how much you're paying per user every month and how much Zoho One's going to save you if you were just to go ahead and switch over to Zoho One. So that is well worth taking a look at. Also, we have our Zoho server status in there. People are always saying, gosh, is Zoho down? Is this down? This application seems to be running slow. You can just click over here and it'll take you to the Zoho server status page, and you can see if anything's running slow, if it's operational, what the issues were, what's happening. So CRM Zen Show is here. Our blog is here, all of events. It's not just it's not brochureware, Zenatta.com. Zenatta.com is the ultimate resource for all things Zoho. So check us out. We think you'll find it a useful resource across the board. Wow. And with that, Tyler, let's get to our pick of the week. Man, I love this one, Tyler.
It's a cool one.
Yeah. So one of our clients that we actually, they're a client of ours and we're a client of theirs. And we have a certain process that we do with them quite often. And they said, hey, here's how you do it. And they sent us kind of this how-to manual, if you will, on, how to basically step-by-step guide on how to do it. And it's with a software called Tango. This is quite interesting. This is just literally a Chrome plugin that allows you to build step-by-step guides with screenshots and call outs and everything. And it's just super, super slick. It's kind of like, what's the one we use? Loom. We use Loom for making
Loom,
videos.
but not for videos. It's like for like a step-by-step kind of like animated screenshot type of approach that does look really nice.
Yeah, so if you want to just kind of build something out, it's pretty slick. I mean, Freddie was playing around with it and he built out this little, how to add a folder, how to, organizing your contacts in channels or folders inside a click. And he put this together in just a few minutes, just using the Chrome extension, grabbing screen, putting the little information in. I mean, it was nothing for this to be done. Pretty slick, great little Chrome extension. I don't know how, I've never heard of this thing before, but it's well worth taking a look at. So Absolutely. It's Tango. Yeah. And I don't know what the pricing is on this, but
they have a free version and I'm sure there's some type of team that they're going to bill you for.
Yeah. I just kind of closed that out. Let me take a look here. So the pricing on Tango, free, up to 25 workflows. Got the whole thing, probably leaves their branding. $16 a month. That's per user. And that's
like Team Workspace for unlimited pro users with an asterisk. Oh yeah, 16 per pro user per month. Yeah, so it'll add up a little bit.
And it's billed annually. Yes, so you're going to spend a little bit of money on that. But if you're building out a lot of tutorials, could be well worth the look. So, and then they have a custom version as well. You can get some pricing on that if you wanted to get your whole team on it. So, nice job, Tango. Good app, great pick. And with that, Tyler, let's get on to our tip of the week. So it seems like campaigns, we just, with all the changes to Zoho campaigns, we're continually having to put some more tips out for everybody. So Wayne has put one together on important settings for topics in Zoho campaigns. This is a YouTube video as well as kind of a nice little write up here on it to tell you why we're doing it and how you can manage it. A lot of this has to do. There's so much on this with in your campaigns footer. You've got the old unsubscribe and update profile, and you've got unsubscribe to all. And now that you've got all these various topics, maybe you're sending out 7 or 8 newsletters a week or something like that. It used to be if someone hit unsubscribe, that was it. They're done. They're never going to get anything. But they wanted the weekly roundup. They just didn't want the dailies. And they didn't want to get this notification or that notification. Now they have that ability to really neatly go in and determine exactly what they're subscribing to, what they want to receive.
Yeah, and I think a big thing that Wayne goes through in this video is renaming those options, because the way that it's always worked is you had unsubscribe, which unsubscribes you completely from the sender, and then you had edit preferences. And most people will go down and click unsubscribe when they want to unsubscribe. And so now what Wayne actually walks through in this video is renaming those. So you could say like unsubscribe from this list and unsubscribe from all lists, right, as 2 different buttons. Because people would like mean to unsubscribe from one thing, and now you can't send them anything because the names of those buttons weren't super clear. So quick walkthrough, looks like about 6.5 minutes. But again, there's just so many moving parts with this new campaigns rollout that I think Wayne just keeps finding things that are video worthy and getting them out there.
Yeah. Very, very, very nice. And that video is over at our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Zenatta. And we are putting out a plethora of new videos on a weekly basis. So you do want to really head on over there and check us out. This week alone, how to launch and distribute a Zoho survey was dropped out. Zoho CRM Verify TX integration. Tyler, you did one on, organize your data in Zoho CRM with custom views. That was last week, I think. Anyway, check it out. Head on over there. We've also we're working on cleaning this up a little bit. So you'll notice you've got the Zoho One Full Product Tutorial 2021. We're kind of flagging that as old. And if you click into that now, or any of our old videos are going to be marked as old, all that means is we've got a new one. So you now can go over and, check out the new video, so our 2022 video, and see what's going on there. So a lot of nice work cleaning this up, making it as useful as possible for those of you, and helping you find the videos you're looking for and getting exactly the information you need. All right. With that, oh, by the way, subscribe, hit the little bell, get reminded, do that. And with that, let's get to this Q&A. All right, Tyler, this is going to be interesting. We got a little bit of a late start getting onto the show today. So we are about to look at, I believe it's 16 questions that we have never seen before. So a true pop quiz.
We'll like a whose line is it anyways prompt. Sounds like complete improv.
So Priya, after watching our Zoho Learn full product tutorial, said, what is the use of spaces? Do you remember?
Spaces are really just like your top level organization within Zoho Learn. So like you'd have a space for marketing, and then you'd have a manual for YouTube marketing and campaigns marketing, right, in these different groupings. And so spaces are generally used to organize as well as to permission, right? So you could have like Brett has access to the marketing space, but maybe Tyler doesn't because he doesn't care about those manuals. So you kind of use those to get things organized, but it's really like an umbrella that you put stuff underneath.
All right. And also over on YouTube, we had the question from Steven Sandor after watching Organize Your Data in Zoho CRM with custom views and filters, which is a one you did last week. Hey, thanks, Tyler. Great info again. I have a number of pipelines for deals. Some relate to building relationships with distribution points, so no revenue, doing it here instead of a blueprint, and others relate to sales. I couldn't find a better filter or a view that would allow me to choose a separate pipeline. Is it possible?
I think it should be possible inside of your custom views to filter those based on pipeline. I'm actually opening our CRM just to fact check myself, but you should be able to include that pipeline identifier in your filters. I guess let me see if I'm right on that. Yeah, I'm seeing it in our CRM that we can actually include pipeline inside of those custom views and filters. So you should be able to do it there. If you're not seeing it, it might be a bug in your account, because I'm actually able to do it for views and the quick filters.
It's possible you haven't set up pipelines either. That could be the problem. And the very first question we got, Cody answered it extremely succinctly for Priya there. Spaces are like groups, manuals are like folders, and articles are like files. So there you go. That's kind of the definition. So it'd be nice if they called them groups, folders, and files, but no, we're going to do that a little differently over in Learn. All right. And then TA, after watching how to link a lead record upon a Zoho form submission in an email 2022, said, thanks, Wayne. So there are some setting features we should avoid, as they will be limiting in a specific campaign segment form features. Are there other such instances that might be missed, like the one you showed here? I would like to also request Zoho to program the scoring rules where we have a choice going on just between 1 through 5. Going from 100 to 80, or I imagine that would be 80 to 100, is quite a jump for those who are waiting to segment from purchase lead campaigns. Can't be useless if we can't dig down a little deeper. Thanks. Were you able to parse that while as I stuttered and stumbled all over that, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a couple questions there. I mean, one of these is specific to some of the things Wayne's covered in the video, so you might have to follow up with a chat response on that in terms of other things that are limiting within the system. The second question here around scoring rules, I get what he's saying. Basically, like, you can't go super granular with what scores you assign to various things. I think the trick with scores is to keep in mind that they're all kind of arbitrary and they're based on like the weights that you apply. So like, it sounds kind of silly, but I've had customers who they want to kind of look at it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they'll set up the scoring rules to be like 100, 200, 300, 400, right? And they just know like we don't care about the hundreds. So it's all just kind of an arbitrary system when it gets to like the specific scores that are being applied. But I think, TA, we might have to follow up separately for the first part of the question to clear that out for you.
All righty. Thank God. Short question, Philip. God bless you. After watching our Zoho 1 full product overview 2022, he said, any update change to bookings since this came out? What he's referring to is when we do this full product tutorial, we cover all 60 apps. It gets longer each time. I think this one was just about an hour and 12 minutes or something like that. And we said no to Zoho bookings. It's on our naughty list. If you go over to Zenatta, let me just say, we've got the resource guide where we give you our yes, you should use these apps. Maybe in most cases they're going to work for you, and then not quite yet. And Zoho bookings lives in that not quite yet category.
Yeah. One of the big issues we've always had with it was the third-party calendar sync. And it used to be a daily sync specifically from like Google. They did switch it to an instant sync, but when I have tested it, which I have done a couple times throughout this year, it still does not work. You still will have random meetings not make it into bookings and show as available. So unfortunately right now, Philip, it is still in that not quite yet category.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at it in a few months. Is it allowing you to do things like book a meeting with you and me specifically and check both of our calendars and find the openings? That was kind of a big miss. See, it's not yet. So again, it's one of those things. It depends on your needs. I do have some people that are using it. They're usually one-man shows. And it's just for their calendar, and it seems to work fine. There have been little glitches with it over time. It's kind of hard for us to test it in depth right now, but my main thing is in talking to our clients who do use it, have forced themselves to use it, and they continually are complaining about various issues with it. All right. Deepak asked, after watching the Zoho Click full product tutorial 2022, how to connect API integration to SQL in Zoho Creator.
Depends where you're hosting your SQL database. If it's in Azure, you'd make a API connection to there. If it's in AWS, you'd go to there. You could set it up as either a workflow if you want it to kind of trigger. If you're querying a SQL database, it would probably be on more of a scheduled basis. So you might set this up as a scheduler inside of Creator. But I mean, really, Deepak, at the end of the day, it depends where the data is that you're processing with SQL and what you want it to do. when it gets to Zoho. But your options would really be like a trigger-based workflow to go and query it via API, or a scheduled sync, looking at like new stuff from yesterday, right? And bringing that in your application.
Thank you, Deepak. All righty. And May, after watching our Zoho Desk full product tutorial 2022, is how to turn on the notification sound on Zoho Desk. Is there? I didn't know there was.
Probably a setting in your browser.
No, yeah,
I think
it might be off.
Could be under your like personal settings, but it's most likely blocked by your browser if you're not hearing anything.
All right. And then Muriel, our Rely, after watching Zoho Campaigns, how to send a campaign, a tutorial 2021. How do I schedule it for every day at one time? There's a setting in there where, well, are you going to be sending the same exact thing?
Yeah, I mean, if you're sending the same thing every day at the same time, you would need to look at one, consider, is it going to everybody on the list every day at the same time, or new people added to the list? If it's new people coming in and you want to make sure like anyone that came in yesterday gets the email at 9 a.m. the next day, that's no problem. You could set that up with a campaigns workflow. We've got a couple options for that. But otherwise, I don't know if they have a way to recur an email to the same list every single day, mostly because there's not a big use case for it.
None.
You probably don't want to send your whole list the same email every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can go in and there's a lot of scheduling options, but that is not one of them that I've ever seen. All right. Christian, after watching Zoho Products full product tutorial 2022, says, can I convert items from an estimate or an invoice to tasks in a project, both services and goods? This would have to be Deluge,
I mean,
right?
like technically, yes, with custom code and a lot of logic. But not with anything kind of off the shelf or standard. You'd essentially need, Christian, like a projects items settings module somewhere like in your CRM, where when a quote gets won or when an invoice gets paid, looks at the items, looks at the various kind of like settings data and determines what should come into the project. But it is definitely a non-trivial exercise. It'll be kind of custom data, logic, and you'll need some scripting.
All righty. And then Chase over at Club Z asked us, one of the episodes several months back, it was discussed a field service management integration, possibly from AUS, from Australia. Is that what he means, sir?
Mm-hmm.
That they thought looked pretty good. I can't remember the episode, but I'm looking at different options, weighing them versus the beta one that's in Zoho's working on. If you have any more thought on that, I appreciate it. What we're referring to most likely was Zuper.
Yeah, it's got to be Zuper.
Got to be Zuper. I actually had dinner with their CEO a few weeks ago. They're still so committed to Zoho. They have the absolute best integration with Zoho, period. And I would take a look at them. Zuper, Zuper. All righty. And then Deepak over at Club Z asked a very long question that I'm going to have to blow up my screen to read, Tyler. One of the best. I'm fairly new to using Zoho Desk and managing the help desk tickets in our organization. My contacts are invited specifically to use Desk to raise tickets, and they manage this through the portal. Only invited contacts can raise tickets. If the contact replies to desk tickets from within the portal, the appropriate ticket is updated and the flow of the conversation remains within the ticket. However, if the contact replies to a desk ticket email outside of the portal, the response arrives in my Outlook inbox. This then requires manual intervention from myself to copy and paste the contents of the email into the ticket. This has added extra work on my side that I can honestly do without. I believe you, Deepak. Is there any way that I can get rid of this extra task? I have educated my contacts to use the portal at all times and to correspond, but occasionally they forget.
Yeah. Tyler? Quick fix in your Outlook, set up a forwarding rule where when emails come in, I mean, it's important to have like a support at email for this. Obviously, you don't want to forward your personal into Zoho Desk. And then, so if you have like a support at Zenatta and that forwards in a desk, and then you set up a verified from address in desk, so you can send as, support at Zenatta. Then if a user submits a ticket through the portal, you respond to it, that is going to email them, right? And so they have that opportunity to respond via email. If they respond and you have your forwarding rules set up correctly, it should thread that response right back into the original ticket. Worst case scenario, like if the user got creative and changed the subject line on their response or something, it will still at least come in a desk and you can merge the ticket once you've identified they're about the same topic.
And I'm pretty sure, Deepak, we have a video somewhere on our YouTube channel around setting up forwarding emails into Desk and how to do all of that. So pretty straightforward.
If not, leave another comment and I'll record one because we need one.
All right. Steve Sandor over at Club Z asks, hi, and thanks for taking the question. I have a podcast and have set up registration form for guests and linked it to a custom module, podcast guests. This creates a new record in the custom module, and I want to copy some of the fields across to the contact module's corresponding fields. Do I need to use Deluge? Yes. It's the only way. Correct, Tyler?
Yeah, if we wanted to copy them over, like, you get a John at Zenatta.com fills out the podcast guest form. You want to take any info there and write it to the same version of that contact with like a matching email. You would need some Deluge to copy it over.
Yep. And then I think this might be a separate question. I use the information from the form to write to the podcast run sheet and send emails to guests based on the responses. There are about 20 questions for links, bios, images, etc. So I'd rather not set up fields in the contacts module. Is there a smarter way to handle this? That's just, yeah. No, so write it all the contacts module. I don't think there's a better way to handle it. No, write it, set it up the way you're doing it, write it to the podcast module, and you can just simple Deluge script. I mean,
the only question would be if you wanted to use the podcast guest module more as like a podcast attendance module. Like this contact has a list of podcast attendances. That might just be like a naming thing, really. But no, I don't think you're doing anything wrong there to make that work.
And if we haven't over in our code share, I mean, one of the simplest Deluge functions you can write is copying data from one module to another. Right, just dead simple. There's also a plugin for that that Massimo's written, right?
So I don't know that it does updates, like searches and updates. No. I think it does creates.
All right. So Chase asks, hello, newer to the form, but like the YouTube pod, I'm looking for an integration that ties into CRM that can send direct mailers. I run a service business and would like to have a postcard sent out. I know we've run into this, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Chase, anything with a REST API, you're probably going to be fine. If you want to take the path of least resistance, I have used a service called Lob before. They actually do have an integration through Zoho Flow that might make life a little bit easier. So you kind of cheat code past like the OAuth integration to build it yourself. The Lob is a little funky in how you actually have to pass like the template information. Like I had to set up a template in Lob, copy all the HTML, and then paste it into my flow to make it work. So it's a little bit funky, I will say. But once it was up and running, it worked like a charm and data would flow over, queue up the mailer, and then it would just go right out the door. But really at the end of the day, Chase, as long as it's got a REST API, depending on your comfort level on like writing any code, if you don't want to write code, pick one that's in Flow. Otherwise, pick anyone that has a API available for you.
All right. And Michael asks, is there a best practices guide to using tasks, activities inside Zoho CRM? Seems like I'm on a task record and I need to do a lot of clicking and checking contact record and deal record in order to make sure I have the latest email conversation and up-to-date info. Not really. I think, you're going to look at the task. You're still going to have to click out to get that information.
Kind of depends too, like what the task is connected to determines what will show natively on the task page itself. So like if you have a task, I'd share my screen if I could, but within a task on the right-hand side, if the task is connected to a contact, you should have on the right-hand side the ability to track the timeline of the contact as well as conversations with that contact that are synced in via IMAP or sent from the CRM. So it would just be check that little, like, I guess I'm mirrored. So check the thing on the right-hand side of your screen. And there is a little like multi-tab thing where you may be able to see at the very least, at least the email communications. You won't be able to see like, if you if you wrote a lot of data on the deal about their needs and pain points and stuff, unfortunately, like that's not going to pull down. But on the right-hand side, you can check at least the timeline and historical conversations via email with that contact.
It could be it's just collapsed too. I've noticed a lot of times I'm talking to people and they've actually
And they have
collapsed.
those tiny little collapse buttons that no one ever
Yeah.
sees. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is that the whole related list that runs down the right, there's this little teeny thing that you might not see in there. And if you're not getting that related list, if you click on that, that'll open up. And sometimes that gets, I think default is it's not collapsed, but it somehow can get collapsed and then nobody ever realizes it's there. So do we have any more questions? Oh my gosh, that was pretty good, Tyler.
Yeah.
I'm pretty impressed.
I had to go dual tab there. If the viewers couldn't notice, I was testing some of those as we were walking through them just to make sure, but not too bad, I think, for a rapid fire improv round.
Very nice. All right, we brought it in at exactly an hour. Well, everybody, I want you to have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, if you'd like to get in contact with myself, Tyler, John, any of our consultants, you can head over to Zenatta.com and click book a meeting. And if you want to participate in our community, please head over to club.zenatta.com.
And as always, we'd love if you would follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Friday.
Take care, everyone. Good show, buddy.
Absolutely. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.